What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jada here, and today we are going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 7. You know I was going to come with it as soon as possible, okay? As soon as I saw those new episodes pop up on Netflix, I was like, yeah, we're going to have to make a video ASAP because I want to be able to stay on top of everything. Because when they be releasing the episodes, it's just like a flood almost. Like every week they have a couple episodes come out. I think they've released about 6 of them, but I've only watched personally up to 5, so that's all I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to try and watch the 6th episode and then along with the other ones and then put that in another video for you guys. But I just felt like I needed to talk about the first 5 episodes ASAP before I forgot. You know what I'm saying? Like I forgot what I was thinking and feeling watching these couples interact with each other. So let's get into it. All right, we have our 6 couples. However, there was going to be 7, but they ended up breaking up, but I'm gonna get to that. Okay, I'm gonna get to that shortly. So our first couple, we have Nick and Hannah. So Nick, or Nicky D, or Nick D, whatever he wants to refer to himself as, I'm just gonna say Nick, but in the pods he does present himself as like Nick D, but I think his full name is like Nick Dorka. And I'm just like, wow, that's ironic that they end up seeing him, like at least all the other girls, they end up seeing Nick as like this smooth talker with a last name like Dorka. Like, very interesting, right? Nick and Hannah, they in the beginning, I think they liked each other, they gelled well. However, it seemed as though Hannah, I guess, was seeing Nick's smooth talkingness or flirtatiousness as problematic, and she was just like, I don't know if I like that. They never really talked about anything that deep. They kind of mainly talked about superficial stuff in the beginning, at least from Nick's side. Nick was primarily talking about how she looked and how she would look in a bikini, and that automatically made her very self-conscious. You could tell that she kind of struggles with her confidence a little bit, being like a taller woman, and then also in terms of her weight kind of fluctuated. And I think she recently said, around that time of filming that she just lost like 45 pounds. And then when she was talking also to Leo, it also seemed like Leo was kind of leaning more towards Britney, who was another girl he was talking to, but it's like he kept dragging Hannah along. And in the end, for some strange reason, Leo, even though he was treating her as like a second option, it's like he, at some point after finding out Hannah was really just trying to drop him to go after Nick eventually, because Hannah, even though with Nick she had told him like she wanted to pursue things with Leo, she eventually calls him back because she feels as though she still has a connection with him because he was about to go home after that. And then she's just like, you know what, I feel like I just kind of judged you and really feel connected to you, like you're my person. That's what she kept saying to Leo also. And Leo just has this weird reaction. He starts shouting, not like in a angry way, but he just kept yelling to her like, are you for real? Are you really serious about this person? Because what if I could marry you right now? Like what if I propose? Like what if I propose to you? He just kept trying to manipulate her, and I'm happy that she ended up figuring it out that Leo was just trying to manipulate her, because it was so weird. It was such a weird moment. I was like, what is this? Because more than likely Britney was more like who you were looking for. Britney was definitely giving me like trophy wife vibes, and I think she even said that she was a trophy wife herself. But
I'm obviously a trophy wife.
Hannah in the end was just like, listen, Nick is my person. She goes to Nick and Nick proposes. They end up meeting each other in person, and Hannah, I guess, feels insecure about being somewhat bigger than him. She's not really that much taller than him with heels on. I guess she still felt insecure about it, but she says, I'm gonna overlook it. And they go to Mexico and they seem to have this friendly relationship. It seems like it's slightly romantic-ish, but more so friendly, like a lot of friendly back and forth and banter, which is fun to have, don't get me wrong. You want to have this best friend quality to your relationship somewhere in there to really keep it strong. But I think that it gave more so friend than lover. But when they are at this resort, Nick, I think he just naturally has a very flirtatious and overly friendly manner to him. And he goes to ride these ducks, but he did, in his defense, invite Hannah to go ride with him, but she was like, yeah, nah, I'm good on that. She eventually sees him go over to the ducks, and a woman starts asking him about riding the ducks, and he's just like, yeah, you could come join me. And Hannah's just like, join you? join you. You don't know this woman. It definitely gave overly comfortable with other women, and that's something you definitely need to pay close attention to, especially if that's someone you want to marry in the end. A little bit of a red flag for me. When he comes back and talks to her, he's just like, can I not be myself around you? No, I think it's because you're jealous. And it's just like, I mean, it did look weird, Nick. It did look really weird. But let's move on to our next couple. We had Garrett and Taylor. So Garrett is a physicist. He's into more like sciencey things. And it seems as though Taylor is as well to a certain extent. They seem to bond based on, you know, the whole like sciencey aspect. It seemed as though at the beginning, like Garrett said, that Taylor was coming across as very robotic and kind of calculated with what she would say to him in her responses. I kind of agreed with him until I realized that when it came to her announcing her race to him and not wanting to say her mother's name because it was Fong, you could clearly tell from Fong that obviously it's an Asian name. She didn't really want to say anything about that to kind of draw attention to her race, because she said that people, or partners more specifically in the past, had fetishized her being Asian. And obviously, yes, you would not want that in a partner, and I totally understood that after she explained it, because at first it was coming across as though she was like ashamed of being Asian, but it wasn't really that. It was really because she didn't want what had happened in the past to happen to her again. So they, I believe, were like the first couple to get engaged. Garrett was like, listen, I want you, I'm gonna propose. We see each other in person, everything seems to be good. However, it does come across as a little awkward, at least from Taylor's standpoint. I don't know if it's just her personality or what, but she seemed very like robotic still. It's almost like she was still trying to come across a certain way, or maybe she was just taking in what Garrett looked like. I don't know, but it was still coming across as very awkward. But when they get to Mexico, they seem to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more into each other. He's telling her about his sleeping tape. He sleeps with tape on his mouth, and he made it seem like this was some type of special product, but it ends up just being regular Scotch tape. I've never really seen people use tape to sleep with. I don't know if that helps with like snoring or what. Like, y'all let me know, what do they really use that for? Either way, they seem to be in a good place. So let's move on to Stefan or Steven. I can't remember. I think it was maybe Steven. So Steven is this big old military guy. And I remember one of the main conversations from him and Monica was when they were talking about, at least Monica had brought up him possibly voting or wanting to vote in this upcoming election. In America, the elections are coming up pretty quickly. I think within the next couple of weeks, they're supposed to start opening voting for, you know, president. I just was not interested or here for it. I just did not think it was a necessary conversation for the editor of this show to leave in, because why would I want to hear anything about politics when I'm watching a reality TV show about you finding love? I don't want to hear about anything political. I want to escape from the whole political talk. Like, I do not want to hear anything about that. I don't care who you voted for. However, they left that conversation in there. And with Monica, you know, I do kind of get the vibe that she's obviously, you know, more on the liberal side of things. However, when it came to Steven, he did admit that he had voted for Trump back in 2016, the first time that he ran against Hillary Clinton. And he was like, yeah, I gotta admit, I only voted for Trump because I didn't like Hillary. It wasn't necessarily because I supported Trump or really liked him as a person or whatnot. It was just because I didn't like Hillary and I didn't want to see her become president. I was like, okay, that's kind of fair to an extent. But then he continued on and on about like Trump and his dislikes about him, and I was just like, I don't care about this stuff. I feel like Netflix kind of knew what they was doing bringing it up, because obviously they're releasing this around the same time as the elections is supposed to take place. I just don't like that. It was not necessary to leave in there, and I just think it should have been edited out, because I don't care to know people's politics. I want to know about your emotional side. I want to know about, you know, the deeper conversations. You know, like I don't really care about politics, at least when it comes to this show. The next couple is Tyler and Ashley. So Tyler is actually mixed. We find out apparently his mom, you know, he tells the whole story to Ashley about his mom being shunned from the family for being with a black guy or having mixed children. You could see that Ashley, obviously with these conversations, she's starting to warm up to Tyler and really likes being around him, loves that he can cook. I gotta be honest, I think a guy that could cook is the sexiest thing ever. And when it comes to my boyfriend, he can cook up a storm. He can season things to perfection. He's a way better cook than I am. Even though I try, I've been getting a lot better, okay? I gotta admit that. I've been getting a lot better, but he's definitely the cook between the two of us. So basically, that's kind of what happened with Ashley and Tyler for the most part. You know, they didn't really talk that much. They shared their likes and dislikes. You know, she liked country music and whatnot. Everything seems to be going okay. They meet each other and they seem to be attracted to each other in terms of the physical sense. They get to Mexico. They seem to be getting a little frisky with each other. You know, the attraction is definitely there. The sexual chemistry seems to be building, but I'm not entirely sure what the deal is in terms of like the sex, no sex thing. She did say that she was just waiting for the right person. It wasn't a matter of like celibacy or waiting until marriage. And I think Tyler seems to be feeling the same way, but I'm not sure. But let's move on to our next black couple. We have Tim and Alexandra. But Alexandra, we find out, is not obsessed necessarily, but she did want to know Tim's zodiac sign. And we find out that Tim was born in September, at least the beginning half of it. So he's a Virgo. And she's just like, oh, okay, you know, he's Virgo. But I just don't really believe in the whole zodiac thing when it comes to relationships. I don't really think it's necessary in terms of the whole matching thing. If you find someone that you really gel with, regardless of their zodiac sign, like I think you should definitely give them a chance, you know? Tim definitely jumps into more of the emotional conversations, or at least conversations or topics that lead more towards his like emotional side with Alexandra pretty early on. And Alexandra seems to be very receptive in terms of showing empathy towards him in his situation, because he did lose his two older sisters not too long ago. I think he is trying his best to incorporate them in some ways. He even gave her a bracelet that one of his sisters had given to the other sister, and he gives Alexandra that bracelet. But I love that he really tried to still incorporate them, because you could tell that his family was definitely very close, at least how he described it. When we get to them seeing each other in person, I get the sense that Alexandra is very easily annoyed, because Tim kept mentioning this whole like I'm a dog situation. He kept doing this whole dog thing, and you could see that Alexandra was getting really annoyed, but she was trying to like pass it off as like, haha, you know, that's funny, you know, stop. In her mind, I think she was like, please stop. You're getting on my nerves. But when they get to Mexico, I really started to see that as a red flag. I think that Alexandra is very easily annoyed, like she said to him. And I think that he doesn't really pick up on that. I think he just keeps going because he thinks it's funny because she's laughing. But it's more like a ha, ha. You know what I mean? It's not really like a ha, you know, like that's really funny. It was more like a I just get that sense that it's going to become a problem. I think that's a red flag on her part, because I think he's just trying to be funny. Obviously, I do think he does have this like weird sense of not really knowing when to end the joke. Like it just keeps going. So I think that's an issue that he would need to deal with, but I don't really see it as like a red flag, you know? So next we have Ramses and Marissa. So originally Marissa was kind of in this triangle with Ramses and another guy. I forgot his name. It's a white guy, but basically she was like, yeah, you know, she eventually cut it off because she was seeing more of an interest in Ramses. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard his name, I was like, Ramses? Like the Prince of Egypt? Y'all let me know if y'all mind went straight to Prince of Egypt, but I was like, is that not the name of the pharaoh? That's really wild. I've never heard someone in real life actually be named Ramses, but I was like, okay, that's different. They end up gelling pretty well, and you see that Marissa is very much so interested in the zodiac sign. She finds out that Ramses is a Cancer, Leo, whatever that means. Even the other girls, when she tells her that and she's so excited about that information, the other girls are just looking at her like, okay, what does that mean? It seems as though she is very much so in love with the side of him that is very emotionally, I guess, expressive, being very in touch with his emotional side pretty much. They end up meeting each other. It seems as though they are attracted to each other. What I found interesting was that Marissa kept talking about Ramses's facial hair. He was just kind of getting kind of self-conscious about it. He's just like, do you like it? And then she's just like, no, it's fine. But I get the sense that she doesn't like it but doesn't know how to say that. I don't know. I think somewhere down the line, if they do end up getting married, it seems as though she's very much so into her career and being a lawyer. So it seems as though Ramses is gonna have to be open to staying at home, which it does seem as though at first take that he is, but I'm not entirely sure. But they do end up sleeping with each other like the very first night in Mexico, so clearly they don't have no issues with like the sexual chemistry. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So lastly, we have Leo and Britney. So like I mentioned earlier, Leo was having this weird triangle between him, Britney, and also Hannah. But eventually Hannah ended up dropping him because she was just like, yeah, I'm not into all of this foolishness. Like, you got me going back and forth and I don't like it. Okay, you're trying to manipulate me. And eventually Hannah does tell all of this to Britney because she didn't want Britney to be left out of the loop. She wanted her to know everything about what Leo was doing behind the scenes and basically behind her back. And I don't really blame her for doing that because I feel like it helped Britney to make more of a informed decision. Oh, I forgot to mention, Britney definitely wants someone that she is in love with but also has money because she wants to be taken care of. She made that pretty clear with Leo. Leo, on the other hand, was telling other people that he doesn't really want someone who just wants him for his money. That's like a fear of his, but at the same time, he flaunts his money. He keeps giving his Rolex to other men in the men's quarters to try it on. And it's just like, okay, for someone who wants to find love and find someone that loves you for you, you keep talking about your money, you know, you keep bringing that up and it's just kind of like annoying, you know?
I grew up financially like very well off. I'm a rich artist. Like, I'm incredibly financially fortunate. I'm so incredibly financially blessed. I would much rather have my problem than the problem of lack of money.
But at the same time, Britney seems as though she is more on the side of being this trophy wife person, like she said. So I don't know, you know, like in the beginning I was like, I don't know. But then they have this conversation and it seemed as though Britney was trying to give Leo another chance, and he does end up proposing, even though she does have this thing in the back of her head that's just telling her like, you're the second choice to him. But she ends up meeting him in person and you could see that it was so awkward. Like, you could see that she was not impressed in the slightest. He kept kissing her and you could see her just kind of like pulling away a little bit, like, please leave me alone, don't touch me. And at the end of that interaction, she literally says verbatim, like, what have I done?
Oh God, what have I done?
And that's when on the screen it says they end up not even making it to Mexico, and on top of that they end up a few weeks later breaking off their engagement. So I was just like, oh wow. But I wasn't surprised in the slightest. But I'm just gonna wrap up this video here because I'm running out of space on my storage. But y'all let me know your thoughts on this one down in the comments. Let me know what you think about these episodes so far and these couples. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.